This is the Bunker Podcast. If it exists, it's here.
Downloading new file.
The Bunker Podcast starts now.
And we are live. Welcome to the Bunker Podcast. Here in the bunker. So it's a bit of a weird one, this really. I didn't really plan on doing a live one at this time, but here we are, doing a live Bunker Podcast. Just gone 11 PM in the UK, and I realised that my channel is insignificant at the moment, which is fine. For a significant channel to exist, you have to have significant content and quality content. I'm fine. I'm fine with being between crap and mediocre. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, here we are. We are having a little chat about the series Vikings in comparison with The Last Kingdom. Now I'm up to date with The Last Kingdom. As we know, couple of podcasts ago, I did talk about The Last Kingdom and what I thought of season 4. Overall, I mean, the difference between season 1 of The Last Kingdom and season 4 of The Last Kingdom is huge. There's a lot of visually it looks different. I mean, obviously the characters are pretty much the same, but it is different. It's improved. You can see the improvement in many of what's going on in the whole, from series 1 series 4. I said the actors are near enough the same, and the story is near enough the same. It looks a lot better though. That's the thing. The budget, as the seasons have gone on, the budget has increased, which you can tell, certainly. So the budget has met with the story now in The Last Kingdom. It's kind of, they're both kind of level playing field when you get up to the end of season 4. Although it did leave a slight bitter taste in my mouth, did season 4 of The Last Kingdom. But it's difficult to explain what it was. I'm not sure what it was. That's the thing. It's difficult. It's so difficult to explain what it was. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe it was the storyline with Uhtred kind of going against a lot of the things that he said he wouldn't do previously. He kind of dropped everything, and then he kind of supported Edward and Ethelfled, like, no kind of, like, oh, if I do this, you got to do this. It was like, right, I'm with you guys, which was a bit, I kind of, he has got that loyalty towards both of them, I suppose, but I don't know. It was just, there wasn't. It was the edge of Uhtred that we know from previous series. When he threatened to kill Alfred, and that kind of love-hate relationship that he had with Wessex and Alfred. We're missing that. I think we're missing that. He obviously loves Ethelfled, and he likes Edward. I don't think he respects Edward very much. But it was odd. But so that was The Last Kingdom. Since finishing The Last Kingdom, I have decided to go on and watch Vikings, which has 8 seasons, exclusive to Amazon. I did very, very briefly discuss Vikings in a previous episode. I've watched 2. I'm guessing I've done about 2 and a little bit. I'm in season 3 at the moment. I think I'm on episode 3 or 4 of season 3. And so far, I know I'm way behind because this series started back in 2013. Now, I don't know. It was obviously, it started on the History Channel. I didn't realise that when I first talked about it, even though that the first trailer I showed previously did have the History Channel on the trailer, and I failed to notice. So this was obviously a series that started on the History Channel, got picked up by Amazon. I don't know when it was. I don't know how far along they was before it got picked up, but they picked it up, and it's on all 8 series on Amazon. And to go 8 series, and I've heard good things about this show, and I have been putting off watching it because I was such a big fan of The Last Kingdom. I thought it wouldn't be as good. And I thought, but they're gonna try and retell that kind of era with the Vikings, and I'm already, used to the Vikings as they're portrayed in The Last Kingdom. So I thought, no, it's not going to be as good. But I was pleasantly surprised that it's set, I think it's near on 100 years before the setting of The Last Kingdom. I think it's at the end of the 8th century, and The Last Kingdom is the 9th century. So I think as you move on with the Vikings, you kind of, when they start going into England, you kind of get a sense of where the kings are, and we're at a different stage in it's, you can tell it's before the time of The Last Kingdom. They're a little bit you can tell the time span. Obviously, I don't know. Obviously, completely different people behind both shows, so it's difficult to judge it precisely. But you can definitely tell the what's the word I'm looking for? The progression from this era into the Last Kingdom area, which is 100 years. I mean, if you go 100 years, we're 2020 right now, if you go back 100 years, you get back to 1920, you look at the difference. So obviously the difference between 880 to 980 is 100 years. You're talking about 100 years between the King of Wessex in Vikings to the Alfred in 100 years later. I think it's about 100 years. I'm approximating. It's around that kind of time. What I do like to see is that it seems that both shows, The Last Kingdom and Vikings, seem to be kind of using history as, there's a lot of historical things going on here that are true to history with a lot of the characters. So I like to see that. That is good. The fact that in my head, I can pretend that Vikings is maybe a prequel to The Last Kingdom makes it a bit easier to watch. The fact that Ragnar in this Ragnar Lothbrok in the in the Vikings from this trailer over here. This is actually trailer of season 2. I just put a random trailer, which it's fine. See, it was very good, this one. But the fact that you can kind of pretend that a lot of these guys are probably related to the Danes and the Vikings of the Last Kingdom, even though they don't actually mention the Danes in this at all. It's very odd. They're the Northmen. They're Northmen in this. Not Danes, Northmen. And they talk more about the gods in this. You kind of feel that they take the religion, the Norse mythology and religion in this a lot more seriously than the Last Kingdom. There's a lot more mentioning of the gods and the different gods and explaining what the religion is about. I'm learning a lot more about the Norse religion in Vikings than I did in the Last Kingdom. Obviously the Christian stuff, I know all about that. But back then obviously it was Catholics, and it was left from the Romans, and a lot was going on, and the most interesting character in Vikings is Ethelstan, who was a monk or a priest that was kidnapped by Ragnar when they first invaded England on their first raid. They brought him back. He kind of converted to their religion, and then they took him back, and he stayed there for a while. Then he went back again, and he's kind of this kind of in between kind of character. He's kind of on both sides. He's kind of half Christian, half Norseman, half Viking, half Christian. It's a very interesting character. He's probably the most interesting character in this series. Ragnar in this series is good, but he's not. I don't know. He's clever, but there's a lot of him watching and staring. There's like the Ragnar kind of stare that's ongoing through the whole series. I don't know. There you go. He kind of just looks a lot. He watches and he looks like kind of wide-eyed, and he kind of watches, and maybe he's trying to work out what's going on. He's a good character. Obviously he's. I feel there's a few missteps in the first couple of series. Obviously, spoiler alert if you haven't watched Vikings. But Floki, the carpenter, the boat maker, of Ragnar's band of merry men. There's a plot in series 2 where he starts to move against Ragnar. And it's weird because there doesn't seem to be a catalyst for his behaviour. Like suddenly he's like Ragnar's best friend, and then slowly he's like, "Oh, I don't like Ragnar anymore. Oh, I don't like Ragnar anymore." And there wasn't a real moment that you think, "Oh, that's why he doesn't like Ragnar now." So it's a weird kind of it's kind of jarring that happens, and he kind of plots alongside the king, which is what was his name? The king. I can't remember his name. Starts with an H. See if I can look it up while I'm here. Might as well check it. King Halstead. King. King Horik. Sorry. Yeah, so he's kind of plotting along with King Horik, and Horik's kind of massaging his brain, kind of turning them against Ragnar, trying to bring him along with his plan, which at first seems genuine, you know. He seems like there's definitely a beef between Ragnar and Floki, but it doesn't make sense. It feels weird as you're watching it. It's like, why? It's like he doesn't want his blessing for the marriage, and he's like, oh, I don't want Ragnar. Oh God, Ragnar. And I know Floki's a bit, he's that personality, where he's obviously got some kind of, I don't know, issues. He's got some issues there. But the whole thing doesn't make sense. And obviously, in the end, as we know, it's kind of a double cross that he betrays Horik in the end, and he kind of realigns himself with Ragnar. Whether that was the whole thing in the end, the whole plan in the end, which doesn't make sense at the beginning, because obviously Horik wasn't involved at the very beginning of when Floki was bad-mouthing Ragnar, so the whole thing was a bit weird. It just sat a bit, you know, it's a bit, I don't know. It just, the storytelling wasn't great in that situation, and the fact that and Horik as well, that was a bit weird. The fact that he turned on Ragnar in the end as well, even though, you know, obviously Ragnar was correct, because he took his revenge on this guy here. Not this guy. The guy in the back, whatever his name is, I don't know. Anyway, you know, so it's a bit like, really? So I didn't really get that in The Last Kingdom when I was watching it. There was, you know, I kind of rolled along with it, and I got bundled up in what was going on. I didn't really question anything. I just kind of followed along and got rolled up in it. Whereas the Vikings so far, you know, it's been a couple of times when I thought, you know, not really. A bit, I mean, I'm enjoying it, but there's a few times when I'm kind of taken out of the story and I'm left questioning the storytelling, and it's definitely the storytelling. It's not just like, oh, you're supposed to hate this guy and then you're hating this guy. That's fine. That's storytelling. You're supposed to hate the villains, you're supposed to like the heroes. But in this, it's like, yeah, that storytelling isn't very good. It's a bit cringy sometimes in Vikings. And then I also read as well a few comments on previous things that the first two series were the best out of the 8. So, that's a bit worrying as well. I mean, I'm currently in season 3. They've gone back to England to kind of help King Egbert, to conquer Mercia, and also get the land that they were promised on the treaty in the end of season 2, when they kind of decided that, you know, they were gonna make a deal and not fight the English, and they were gonna strike a bargain. And already, again, I don't know. Maybe this is historically accurate. I don't know, but there seem to be the friendliness between the Vikings and the English seems to be a little bit too easy there. I don't know. Maybe it's accurate, but it's just weird that this is the start. This is the very start of the Viking invasion into England. They've already got a treaty drawn up. They're already working together. They got mercenaries here. You know, you got the king, and he's trying to you know, he likes again, I'm not good at remembering names. Ragnar's ex-wife, the Shield Maiden, whatever her name is, they got a little thing going on, you know, and he likes her, and but then it's like he's dangerous. Oh, is he dangerous? You know, smart people are dangerous, and he's gonna, you know, he's working everything, and he's gonna slaughter them anyway. I don't know. It's a bit slimy, but I don't know. It seems more dramatic than The Last Kingdom. The Last Kingdom seems a little bit more kind of straight down the line. I know it's got Uhtred in it, which is an overly dramatic character. I think they save all the drama for Uhtred in The Last Kingdom, and they keep everyone else kind of straight down the edge, narrow. They've got like Uhtred and his band of merry men, who's kind of like a little bit comic relief, and he's kind of on his own, and he's out there and he's breaking the rules and everything. So, but then you got like the kings and the queens and the kind of the historical figures that are kind of straight and narrow down the line, you know, no kind of messing around. That's it. Whereas in Vikings, it's kind of everyone's got the drama around them, you know. You don't know. It's kind of it's a little bit more soap opera than The Last Kingdom, which I don't know if I like very much. I do kind of like The Last Kingdom's kind of straight down the line thing, and you've got Uhtred, and he's kind of like the comic relief, kind of the hero, kind of Rambo character. And then Vikings is like everyone's kind of a little bit way. You don't know what they're doing. You got double crossing here and there, and you got like a few comedy. And now, obviously, I'm only on series 3. I don't know what's going to happen. But they do try and, what do you call it? When something's obvious and they build up to something obvious. I don't know what the word is, but you know, when they put it there and they go, right, here is what we're gonna do. We're alluding to this thing, and we're giving you a cheeky wink towards it, you know, and that's what they're gonna do. And you think, well, okay, you know, it's a little bit obvious what they're building to. But it's good. It's entertainment, isn't it? It's a drama. That's what they're trying to do. People have their preferences, and so far, I'm kind of 1.5 seasons off the end of season 4 of Vikings. So that's where I'm up to on obviously Last Kingdom, only done 4 seasons. So I'm over halfway of what I watched on The Last Kingdom, and I do prefer The Last Kingdom. It's better. It's better. I think the story's better. The writing is better. Characters are better. I think Vikings started out looking better in terms of the direction and the design and the art and everything. It's looked great from the first series till now. It's been consistent the whole way through. Whereas The Last Kingdom, it started out a little bit. It was a little bit dodgy in that first series with some of the costumes and the way things looked. It was a little bit like it looked like a low budget BBC drama. It's obviously transformed since then, but it looked. But again, the story was there and the characters were there, and the writing was there as well. So it had 3 on 1, whereas Vikings has kind of, it looks awesome and then it kind of falls down a little bit on the old story. Eesh. But it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm not criticising it too much. Just in comparison with both shows, both historical dramas, action dramas, set in near enough the same kind of time. I am pretending in my head that Vikings is a sequel to The Last Kingdom. Whether it actually catches up, I don't know. I'm guessing it does, because obviously the protagonist at the moment is Ragnar Lothbrok. And whether and Vikings, I don't know how long it's going to go on for. I don't know whether 8 series, whether it ended at 8 series. I haven't read that much about it, to be honest. I just know it's been there, it's been over here, it's been there, and it's been waiting for me to watch it eventually. And finally, I'm getting around to watch it. Oh, look at that, season 2, 2014. That was a long time ago. Talking what? How long ago was that? 6-7 years ago? Getting on. So it's been there, and it's got good ratings. And I'm sure other people may say that, oh, Vikings is brilliant. It's the I can't even watch the lot. You know, I did hear that from a friend of mine actually. That they watched and loved The Last Kingdom, and they started. They loved and watched Vikings, and they started watching The Last Kingdom, and they thought, oh, I don't like this. This is a bit. Not used to this. But I think The Last Kingdom, obviously it's based on a book, and a lot of the language is obviously moves on through. Like in the Vikings, you don't hear them refer to themselves as Danes once. I mean, they come from Norway, but I don't know what's historically accurate. Maybe at this time they're not Danes, they're Northmen. Were they actually referred to Northmen or Danes? I don't know. Maybe that came later. We don't really see Winchester in Vikings either. It's kind of Wessex is Wessex, and then you've got the Villa of the King, which we don't ever heard anything referred to a villa in The Last Kingdom. It's just kind of Winchester is the capital, and then you've got the palace where Alfred is, but he never really talks about. And also they call the king sire in this, where it's lord. There's a lot of terminology that's different in this, and I don't know whether it's the difference between the shows or whether it's the difference between the eras, because 100 years, maybe in this time 100 years isn't as big as 100 years now, because if you go 100 years back now, then the difference between 100 years between now and 100 years ago is a lot more than maybe it was back then, as in terms of technology and the way we talk and culture. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I will be very happy to hear anyone's thoughts on this, because it'd be good to hear if anyone's watched both shows and their thoughts on it. Please don't spoil Vikings for me, because I'm still working my way through it, and I will do a conclusion when I get to the end of it, comparing both shows, just to see. I don't know what the timeline goes up to, or how far Vikings goes, and with the characters as well. You got to be a bit difficult. I mean, 100 years is a long time, and I watched a video the other day, and they were talking about The Last Kingdom, that in real time Uhtred should be in his 50s by now, and he still looks like a young man. So it's a bit. That's the thing about The Last Kingdom that obviously you have to suspend your belief bit, because it's acting, it's a TV show. The ages of the characters are obviously the age that they are isn't the way they look, and they haven't done any aging thing on them at all. That's who they are. So that's the only thing that's a bit dodgy. But yeah, you can't you have to criticize that as well, because you're supposed to be they're supposed to be telling a story, and you have to be believable. So when you're telling me in the timeline, Uhtred is a man in his 50s and he looks 25, something feels a bit off there. So that's weird. And I've got a feeling the same kind of thing is going to start coming into Vikings as well, because obviously they're doing a thing where time moves quite quickly in the show because of the seasons. They go between seasons in episodes, and they go backwards and forwards between Scandinavia and England, and the seasons change, and the haircuts change between the series, and the children get older. The adults obviously don't get older because they don't get older. Obviously they do get older, but the way they look don't get older. You got talking about years passing. So whether, as we move through Vikings, whether there's a significant amount of time that passes that kind of makes the way someone looks a little bit unbelievable, obviously, because between series 1 and series 2, I think, although there was a big time jump in series 2, and maybe it was between episode 1 and episode 2 of the second series, especially the son of Ragnar, Bjorn. He jumps from this small little boy to a strapping 6 foot something man in the space of 4 years, apparently. Oh god, those Vikings have got some genes, eh? But anyway, so that kind of, he morphed into this massive gladiator guy. And then we move into series 3, and then he's got this cool new haircut that's similar to his dad's. But there you go. That's TV for you, isn't it? You gotta take that. You gotta suspend your belief a little bit, especially with some of the characters. You've got to kind of concentrate on the story, the setting, and the characters and the acting, rather than the ages, I suppose. But anyway, so that's my thoughts on Vikings and Lost Kingdom. I'm gonna talk a bit more about Vikings. I think I'm interested to see how the story goes and the characters go. Obviously, I know what to expect now in terms of the way things go. The way the story progresses, and the way the writer writes the characters. So I know a handle on that now, and it's different from The Last Kingdom, which is obvious. Obviously it's different, but because of the setting and the time frame is so close, you do look for those similarities. Anyway, I'm rambling and talking too long. So that was Vikings and The Last Kingdom. Just a brief chat, really. I'll do another video. But anyway, I didn't get any feedback on my previous video about the quiz, so that's fine. I understand. I haven't got the audience to do that in a moment, which is fine, but maybe in the future I'll do something anyway. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
This is the Bunker Podcast. If it exists, it's here.
Downloading new file.